Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Bermudez versus Basulto fight. And if you're on around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like video if you do indeed like video, and let's get straight into it. So, going into this fight, Bermudez is 19-1-1 with 6 KOs, and Basulto is 12-1 with 3 KOs. This fight is for the IBF and the WBO World Light Flyweight titles. Bermudez's last fight was a win via split decision versus Clavel, and Basulto's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Torres. This is in Bermudez's home country of Argentina. Bermudez's loss came via majority decision versus Valle in 2022, and Basulto's loss came via unanimous decision versus Valle in 2023. Obviously, to speak about what I'm saying, this is for both of the titles in which Bermudez currently holds. She's been on a relatively good run of form as of recent, and since coming up to light flyweight, she's been consistent and been kind of fending off all challenges so far. And the performance in which she won in her last fight against Clavel was a big kind of statement, really. Clavel obviously had suffered defeat versus Neri Plata before, but she was still seen as one of the tougher opponents in the division, and she's somebody who is probably one of the top contenders, if not the top contender, and to be able to win, obviously close win, but still a win nonetheless. It was a fight which showed credit and showed that she can and deserves to be a champion. And a lot of the women's division fighters at the moment, quite a few of the champions, same in the men's rankings to an extent with certain champions, they're just fighting opponents who are ranked, but they're not really anything of note. They're not like highly ranked, or they're not really anybody that anybody knows, and they're not really got a name to them, and they're just gimme fights to an extent, and they're fights in which they know that they're going to win to be able to remain a champion. And so credit to Bermudez for wanting to go out there and take tough challenges, and I think this is going to be another one. Basulto, obviously, she's the one with the less experience. She, of course, has suffered a defeat in her second to last fight, but she's gone away. She's come back and, gone and got a unanimous decision victory against a lesser opponent. But she's somebody who is coming over to, of course, Bermudez's home country, which I have a lot of respect for. Bermudez coming back, of course, to go and showcase her titles in front of her home crowd, so she's going to be wanting to put on a show. And I find it interesting that they both have that same defeat on their record. Obviously, the Valle one was worse for Basulto, but I think it was a fight which didn't really. Obviously, Valle won clearly, but I think to an extent Basulto showed elements throughout the fight in which she showed that she can cause problems for fighters. And I think Valle, it was just a style which Valle could deal with quite well, and she did. And so, it was Valle's probably last fight before she got onto the big time and, big shows like Golden Boy and that. So she was wanting to go out there and put a clinical fight, but Valle did box really well and stayed disciplined and pretty much just knew what she had to do to be able to win. I'm going to speak a bit more about Basulto's performance and her as a fighter in just a moment, but we'll start by talking about Bermudez. She's got good counters. She fights on the outside relatively well, and I'm a fan of her good counters, and the fact that she is somebody who's not going to be wanting to put too much physical or, I suppose, any type of pressure on. She is somebody who can find the range relatively well. She's got good head movement. That's probably one of my favourite parts of her game. She has got very good head movement, and that's where a lot of the counters that she does set up come from. She's got good straight shots. She's a mid-range type fighter a lot of the time. She resets quite well when she does get caught with something or anything like that. She's able to go back, reset, recover, go back to the consistent fundamentals in which she has, in which the jab is very good, and she uses that a lot, and the other, like I mentioned, straight shots as well. She moves well. I think her movement isn't anything crazy, but, she'll circle around the ring, and she's not going to just go backwards and forwards all the time, so it's alright, it's solid. She punches over the guard quite a lot, which is something which I'm quite a fan of. Her hooks aren't anything crazy or anything like that, but she's got like a shot in which it's like a half a hook slash half a straight shot, where she kind of just loops over a straight shot over the guard, and it's not, technically the most advanced of shots or a shot in which is anything too impressive, but it's intriguing to see, and it offers a different element to her game. And when she hasn't really got too much shot variation otherwise, I feel like it was necessary for her to at least have some sort of shot in which makes her a little bit different to other opponents. Other, I suppose, negatives about her: she can be predictable at times. Obviously, like I say, she uses her jab, she uses her long shots, and sometimes it can just be a little bit predictable. She stands quite upright, and her balance doesn't always necessarily seem too good. So I don't know necessarily if she is going to get backed up too much, and she is going to, obviously she accepts being on the back foot, but if she's going to be against physical pressure, how that is going to help, how she's going to be able to deal with it because of the poor, in my opinion, balance. She, in my opinion, I think struggles against a high output. She does move her, she's got good head movement, but a lot of the time that's towards singular shots, and when it comes against flurries of shots, I feel like she can struggle a bit, and so against a high output, I think that's sometimes where she can have problems. She has a bit of a lack of fluidity. A lot of her work can be a little bit, not stale, but a little bit stagnant, or a little bit, not looking quite as natural or anything like that, or quite as comfortable. A lot of arm looping punches in her hooks. She sometimes can overcommit in her shots as well. Obviously, she does find range relatively well, but she can still overcommit quite often. She can look a little bit staggered, in my opinion. It might be a bit harsh to say, but she just looks like I don't know if it's her trying to feint or something, but she just looks like she's stumbling a little bit at times over her feet or whatever, but staggered a little bit at points, and she can headhunt quite a lot. To speak about Basulto as a fighter, she's willing to be on the back foot as well. I think she moves well as well. She's a solid mid-range top fighter, so there's similar aspects between the two opponents. So it'll be intriguing to see who will be the one on the front foot. She will throw in bunches, and so like I mentioned, that could add an element against what Bermudez is wanting. She can push the pace. She's aggressive quite often at times. Even when she is on the back foot, she can be quite aggressive in her work. She's not afraid of anything that's going to be coming back. So defensive wise, she's going to be there to be hit, but she's also going to respond, like I say, aggressively. If she catches you, there's power in her shots, and she has, got that in her arsenal, and did catch Valle relatively often, even in their fight, with relatively powerful shots. So she does have power in her hands, and mixed with the aggression as well, it's an interesting, aggressive, attacking style, which is something you don't always necessarily see in the women's game. She will be up for a war. It'd be intriguing to see if Bermudez would be up for a war. You'd like to think probably not as a counterpuncher, but you never know, she might get drawn into one. Negatives about her: I think her speed when she throws her combinations, a lot of the time that was what Valle was winning the fight with. She was kind of just going in, throwing one or two shots, and then jumping out, and then Basulto just couldn't catch her with anything because of the speed, and just been able to stop anything from throwing when she is throwing her combinations. She'll fall for feints quite often. She'll just overcommit or throw a shot just because she's seen a feint coming and she's trying to react to it. She's wild at times, reckless at times. Her timing isn't amazing. It can be alright, but it isn't amazing. She drops her guard quite a lot, often arm punches in her work. Her feet can get a bit tangled when she is, being on the offense. She rushes in quite often. She headhunts as well, so I don't feel like this is going to be any type of a body work type game between the two opponents. And her accuracy is something which is also just quite poor. It was something which she did catch Valle with shots, and like I say, when she did catch them, there was power behind them, but a lot of the time she was just hitting air and Valle was just making a miss, and so the accuracy isn't always necessarily there. Maybe it's just her ability to find range isn't quite as good. Benavidez is the favourite for this fight. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to say a bold statement. I'm going to say that Basulto will win via unanimous split decision, one or the other. I think Basulto is going to be able to get an upset. I think the aggressive style, if she can flip it onto being onto the front foot, which I would believe that Bermudez will let her onto the front foot, I think Basulto could catch her with a few shots. I don't think it will take many shots for her to be able to catch her with. I don't think it'll be a stoppage or anything like that, but I think if she's throwing in flurries and she catches, she's catching Bermudez with one, two shots within a flurry of five, I think Bermudez is going to be able to struggle, and I think Basulto will be able to just nick a decision victory in Bermudez's home country, so it would be a lot of credit to her. And then who she could go on to fight? I mean, obviously Bermudez again could be an option. She has been a dominant champion, so it will be a big upset for her, for Basulto to win. So maybe her again. I think Clavel, she's fighting Lindemuth. Her full respect to Clavel, she's been active as of recent. She fought just last month, and now she's fighting again this month, and so full credit for wanting to stay active. Neri Blatter, you never know, could be an option. Maybe she's looking for an opponent at the moment. Of course, WBA Super and WBC champion. Borman versus DeMarco, that's down at minimum weight, so possibly. I don't know if I necessarily want to see Basulto go back down to minimum weight, but you never know. One of the winners of that fight could possibly end up fighting Bermudez or Enriquez. Another option. You never know. She's not really been too active, but possibly. So there's a few fights. It would be intriguing to see where she wants to go, Basulto, but of course she has to win this very tough test first. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like video if you did, indeed like video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.